Island for beginners. So this is a board setup. We're on board H. We've done the initial explore, and we've got an explore into the sand. And I'm just using a fairly simple spirit here, whose name is Devouring Teeth Underfoot. One of the ones in Horizons of Spirit Island. But I'm just going to talk a little bit about not so much this spirit, but about how to get started in approaching strategy in this game. So about 15 years ago, there was a game called Pandemic came out, and about a year before that, a game came out called Lord of the Rings. They were the two big collaborative games that really changed the face of collaborative games, particularly Pandemic, because it had a whole bunch of sequels like Horizon Zero Dawn, like Forbidden Island, and all the Forbidden series, and so many Pandemic sequels. There was also Defenders of the Realm. All of those games pretty much had the same idea, that there was two sort of elements going on in a collaborative game. There was firefighting, and then there was progressing towards victory. So firefighting was basically stopping outbreaks and things that were going to tip you over the edge, and progressing towards victory was, of course, was something that you had to do to get to the end game. You had to stop things from tipping over to losing, but you also had to collect cards or do something else that was going to get you towards where you needed to go. And the basic principle of most collaborative games ever since, because of the dominant of those, has been firefighting versus progressing. If you come to Spirit Island these days, you probably played some of those collaborative games before, and you're going to approach Spirit Island in that way. So what does that mean? It means if we look at this board, we think of, okay, what is the thing that's going to track us towards losing? And generally that means we focus a lot on stopping blight. We have 3 blight in our pool, and we need to stop that as much as possible. And so we concentrate on that, and we try to progress towards victory. But of course, that's not something that really exists in this game, because everything is connected. Spirit Island isn't about firefighting versus progressing towards victory. You do need to have a plan towards getting towards victory, but everything is interrelated. And firefighting is sometimes the wrong thing to do, because it doesn't necessarily, although it always brings your blight count down, it doesn't necessarily make things escalate the way it does in Pandemic, because there's only one tilt point where and there's only one loss. In Pandemic, every time there's an outbreak, things actually get worse. So you need to really deal with that and be ready for it. It's not the same in Spirit Island, because after an outbreak, after a ravage, things don't get worse. Okay, so what we can do instead is think about how can we go upstream. We do want to stop ravages, but what we want to do is go upstream. It's actually better to stop builds than it is to stop ravages, because it often requires less resources. It's easier to stop explores than it is to stop ravages. To stop builds. There's fewer cards that do it, and it's harder to predict. But if you can stop an explore from happening, or kill an explorer on the turn that it moves in, you're actually ahead of the game. So what's happened now, and so what we really want to do is focus on how can we go upstream? How can we stop something from happening? So this is the first turn of the game. Now, the first turn of the game I really like, because it's actually slowed down. Normally, on every turn of the game, there are 4 bad things happening in your land, in your island, in your whatever it's called. There's something that's ravaging, there's something that's building, and there's 2 of each of those. 2 ravages. There's also going to be explores as well. So there's technically 6 bad things happening, but we're working with 4. In the first turn, there's only 2 or 4, depending on how you think about it. So in that first turn, we actually have this wonderful opportunity is how can we stop the build? Now, in this case, we've got sand, which means we've actually stopped this build over here already, because there's this wonderful disease token that's stopping this build. But it does mean we can think ahead and go, okay, that is going to ravage, and it's going to do 4 damage. Is there something we can do now so that it's doing less damage when it does ravage? Over here, can we stop this build before it happens? We can also think what's likely to be explored. Now, in turn 1, you don't have a lot of information, but in turn 2, you have much more information about stopping explore. So the thing becomes, how do we go upstream? How do we think about what we can stop? So if, for example, we want to be able to stop this builds on this first turn, and so we want to look at the tools we have. We also want to think ahead and go, okay, the next card could be mountains, could be water, could be jungle, and we'll talk about that after our first turn. So let's just have a look at some of our cards. And the first turn actually gives you a lot of information because, right, this card here, Mark Territory with Scar's Teeth, it defends 9, which means it's mostly a card about stopping a Ravage. Gift of Furious Might lets you do more damage with a damage dealing power. This card here lets you gather up to 1 person or a town. And this one here lets you do 3 damage to buildings or towns only. So these two here are actually ways that we can, they're not going to necessarily, this one will stop a build because it will destroy the build as soon as it happens. Even though it happens afterwards, we can see that it will instantly, if we get presence in this land, we can destroy everything it builds there. Okay, so that's a nice, easy thing. We can stop that build and empty that out, and emptying is really important. This one also is also a really good power for the same reason. It moves out a town. It won't get rid of everything, but by moving out a town out of the area, it will then not ravage. So it's a way of sort of intervening between the build and the ravage before you have to block the ravage. We're going upstream. So first thing I'm actually going to do, because we can let this build for a second, is I'm going to do this starting card. I'm going to, because we need the 2 range, right? I want to get over here. I'm going to play Furious Rampage. I only have 1 card, and that also lets me do a range 1 gather, which I might want in the future. And so I've just focused on what's going to happen and how to get rid of it. It doesn't sound revolutionary, but you'll see in the second turn. Oh, I do have another card. What am I doing? I haven't played this script very much. You'll see in the next turn that we have the same issue coming up. So this isn't going to build, but we could pull that out. We have a lot of power this turn. So what we might do is see if we can trigger our innate. Oops. So we need an extra fire and an extra animal to trigger that. And so that's going to be Pound with Furious Might. So, oh, no, that didn't trigger it. Why didn't that trigger it? 2 of that. Oh, we don't have the mountain. We don't have the mountain. So there is actually a way we can get that this turn because we put down, we went for the extra card instead of the extra fire. That's okay. We won't do that this turn. But a little bit of damage, that's not going to be worth doing because we're not going to do any damage. So what we will do is think ahead about where we want to do some damage and what we want to think about. So I'm going to play this and we'll see what happens. So 2 slow powers. I could have also underplayed there. The value of underplaying is important. Right, so we got jungle. So now, here we go. We're going to do Ferocious Rampage in here, which will kill everything in it. Now the great thing about that is that's going to be safe for not just the next turn, but the turn after as well, right? So this card here in our Explore has to be a wetlands or a mountain. So the next possible sand cannot happen until the turn after. So this is a very safe area. And the same thing happens when you have a Ravage. It's usually moving off the board and becomes a safe area. It doesn't continue to get worse like it does in a lot of other games. So this one gives us a gather. And what we can do here then is think. So we can use this gather to prevent from building. Because we can just move it out. So we're going to go here, pull this guy into there. And again, you might not think this is, it's a pretty simple idea. I'm not saying this is the greatest idea in the world, but remember, Ravages can be good because now this guy's going to die and not do a lot of damage. And finally, we have a gather at range 1. but I don't think we need that because we probably want, we do want to defend 9 in here next turn. So I'm actually going to gather that into there. And the Devouring Teeth is actually a lovely mobile spirit. A lot of the ones in Horizon are to stop penalizing you from putting your things in the wrong place. A lot of them have ways to move your spirit around so that you can recover from mistakes. That's what makes the cat spirit so nice and easy. So now again, we have turn 2. 4 bad things are going to happen. A ravage, a build, a build. But we've already stopped that. That's not going to cause us any problem. This one is going to build unless we can stop it. And we probably can't at this point unless we get a better card. So we might actually try to get a power card. We can then think, okay, where are they going to explore? They could explore here into these wetlands, or they could explore into these mountains. So we can think ahead about like, how can we stop that explore? If, for example, we get rid of this town, we actually don't stop any explorers because, if we get rid of this town, then this land won't be explored in. So we can think ahead, going upstream, how do we stop an explorer coming here? If we get through this town, then there is no source for the explorer, assuming we also stop this build. So that's cool. That's what we want to do about going upstream. So we'd like to stop this thing, this problem here, but I think what first we're going to do is get another power card, and we're probably going to stick with a miner at this point. We're going to get, we've got 2 animal cards here, so we're going to get a fire card. And we're going to put this here so we can get to the jungle if we need to. A lot of Devouring Teeth have 0 range powers. We're going to get ourselves a miner. And so we're looking for something. We're already, before we look at our cards, we're also looking about, can we stop that build, but also move that out so that it doesn't, we don't have a source, or stop that from coming. Unfortunately, we didn't get any fast powers in our draw. So we're not going to be able to stop the build, which means the explore is pretty much going to happen. So now we have to think about what else can we do? What's the board state going to look like, and how do we go upstream? This is going to have a build, so we would like to stop it before it turns into a ravage, and there'll be an explorers here and explorers there. Call to Migrate is a pretty good idea because it might be able to we might be able to put people into here so that we can fight back against that defense. We unfortunately aren't going to be able to do anything about this ravage here this turn. Infested Aquifers is less good for us at the moment because we only have a 50% chance of knowing whether that's mountain or water. It's not a bad power, but it's not what we need. We probably want the fire and the animal from Call to Migrate because it just suits our build as well. Or Pull Beneath Hungry Earth also fits because it's got the mountain, and it also hits sand and water. Which isn't bad. It would let us do 2 damage to here. That's not really good, but it would let us do 2 damage here, which would immediately... So again, we can think about this. If this is an explore, there's going to be an explorer here, an explorer there. If we get Pull Beneath the Hungry Earth, we can knock out that town, and then we'll have more control. We might be able to knock out the explorer as well with an event. And we can plan ahead about what's going, or we can knock out the explorer that's here, so that we can then move things around with Call to Migrate. So both of those are good choices for us. I'm going to take Pull Beneath the Hungry Earth. I'm going to play that one, and I'm going to play Pull Beneath, and we are only getting our first level. This one's going in here. Block 9, bit of fear, getting our first fear card. And remember, you should plan ahead for fear cards. Explore does not affect coastal lands. That's great. So if we get mountains, we're getting a great benefit. Build in the jungle, 1 town, and it's mountains. That's great. So we actually avoid a lot of problems there because this isn't going to build, and we have Pull Beneath. Now, we only need to do 1 damage because we just have to stop this. We've gone upstream. We kill the explorer. We could technically use this. No, we can't use it to do. We can do 1 damage here, but it's better to stop this stream. That's what we're talking about today. We're going to use. We're going to use this lovely to move our power into there, and then we're going to use pull beneath to kill that guy. Because it's better to kill that explorer and give us 2 more turns of a break than trying to interrupt here, because we have ways to interrupt there. So now we're going into this third turn. Jungle's our mountain is not only fine for build, it's fine for next turn. So we've reduced all the things we had to talk about on the board down to just one problem, right? Normally there's 4, except in late game where there's 8. We've gone from 4 down to 1. There is one problem on this board that we need to deal with. And if we get momentum on that, then we're just going to keep winning. We probably need our cards back. We need another power down. We'd probably like more power because we haven't played that power game for a while. And we've got a lot of cards that give us animal. So I'm going to just put down another power. I'm going to put it here. And then we have to think about, okay, this is the only problem. How do we stop it? We can put defense 9. We can, that's probably the best thing to do just to stop it from happening. Means we have to get in there though. We can't use that because we don't have the range. So we are going to get a Ravage and we're going to get a spread, but that's only 2 things coming down. It's not going to put us over the tipping point. And we might be able to trigger our innate if we can. We need 2 fire, 2 animal, and 1 mountain, which we still can't get, I think. What did we take off? I can never remember. Oh, we've got a fire there, so we might be able to get our innate as well. So we're looking for a fire, a mountain, and 2 animals. So we can have maybe this one and this one. Is that going to give it to us? I'm very bad at this math. What are we missing? We're missing the mountain. So we need... all right, so that's going to give us an extra point of damage, which we can use to kill another explorer going upstream. And it can actually, in fact, do a ton of damage. So if we get, we can use that, in fact, with Gift of Furious Might to do a huge amount of damage. And we can, now we can't actually use Sharp Teeth there, but we have that one. That will give us, So we found another. Again, what's good about the Horizon Spirits, a lot of low complexity spirits, is it's easy to find these combos. We've also got Command Beast coming up, which might help us if we get an Explore. Because we're going into Phase 2, we might get Explorers in the mountains, because that card could be mountain again, but we've got a Beastie hanging out there. So we've thought ahead about how to go upstream. Putting Beasts of Might there. Oh, Beast, Command Beast, we're going to push. We could get jungle. We could get water. We don't know anywhere about where it's going to be, so I'm just going to put it into there. Now we are going to get a Ravage. We are going to put that Ravage probably, because we haven't had any wetlands yet, we're going to put the Ravage there. No builds, and now Explores is sand. Now, unfortunately, as I said, we couldn't kill that. But we absolutely can do 4 damage over here. So again, we're looking about what can we do? Can we stop these builds? We can use this to stop a build. This one here will do 5 damage. My damage doesn't do +1. And then we've got this. Okay, so again, jungle was bad, but jungle's not going to be bad for a while. Until next turn, it might get 1 more explorer, but it's not going to build. It cannot build next turn. Can we clear this so that we've got that empty? Yes, we can. We're going to go over here. Oh, it has to be. Oh, no, hang on. I'll stuff this up. We don't have the range. We cannot gather that guy. Boo. Because we are in the wrong place. So in that case, what I should have done is... No, that wouldn't have worked. All right. We got the power off to do a lot of damage. If I hadn't made a mistake and I didn't have a choice. Yeah, so we can't actually gather, but what we can think about is we could gather this into here. We can now. So yeah. So what I'm thinking about now is going upstream. I can't stop this explorer from building, but what I can think about is, okay, the next card, we know it could be any of the 3 other terrains. Can we get rid of this guy so that there isn't a building to become a source? All right. So if we pull this guy into here, then this land and this land are empty. It protects this from being a source of explorers. If we pull it into, we don't gain that advantage anywhere else. So I actually might do that. I'm going to go here, pull that guy into there. So now if we get wetlands, we get 1 less explorer. So that's the tip for the day, is try to go upstream. How can we kill explorers or how prevent explorers by moving things around? How can we stop builds? How can we stop ravages? We always want to stop ravages, but if we focus too much on them, we're not getting the effect. If you stop the explorer, it's usually much less resources. And that's the thing. You can stop it. It's often like a cost of 2 or something to put down a shield, but it's a cost of 1 or 0 to kill an explorer. Steam Vents, it's a great card. We'll just kill an explorer dead. Right, so we've got this little fella here. We can't stop him from building, unfortunately. We don't have any unless we get a new card. Maybe we'll get a card that stops him. There's one bad thing here, but we've got a 2-cost shield we can afford to stop that. That's the only... There's 2 bad things happening on the island. We can stop that. We can also use Ferocious Rampage to kill all of that. So we can stop both of them. But we can explore and see if we can get something, a cheaper way to stop both of them. We might be able to kill that guy before he builds, because that's going upstream. We don't need more power, so we're going to take an animal power and we're going to go into the wetlands, I think, here. And now we've automatically got the first level of that. We're going to gain a miner again because I like to play a lot of cards here. And there we go. There's a great example of what I was talking about. Delusions of Danger. Very simple card. Going to stop this at the source. And then we'll play this one. So rather than kill the buildings for 2, we're going to play Delusions of Danger, which is, we go in there and we're just going to push that guy into somewhere where, now remember, we've stopped this being a source. No, we haven't done that. We've stopped this being a source, this place from being a source. So this guy, this wonderful area here is not going to get much more attacking, which means we want to concentrate on other areas. So we probably want to push this guy over here because there's a Dahan there to hurt him, and then we just defend over here, get some more fear, get another fear card, got some free defend. We got jungle, so we couldn't. Remember, you can't stop explorers on the coast generally, but now we've got a way to gather a presence, which means we can, pull a presence into here. And now, thinking ahead, our sands are fine. We've got a nasty build here we really don't want to happen. And we can do 4 damage there after it happens. But that doesn't affect cities. And that's another reason why we always go upstream, because cities are harder to kill than towns. Getting an effect that kills a town kills a city is much harder than getting an effect that kills a town. So, but again, I've got 2 problems. In fact, I've only really got 1 problem. We can probably let that build happen there, and then one of these things can deal with it. Pull Beneath won't because it's jungle, but we've got Ferocious Rampage. We need another card. We could get them all the cards back, but I'd like to get a presence in that jungle as well. So, and we would also like to get another fire so we can immediately. This is a tough choice. We might want to get one more power, so we can get to 6, and then we can try to get a major, and I'll still be able to play. So I'm going to try to get a major power because there's majors that cost 3 or 4, even 2. We've got a bunch. So here we go. And so here's a great example. Savage Transformation, replace a Explorer with a Beast. So that's a great example of an upstream effect. And if we get 2 moons, which we won't get. Oh, yes, we could get 2 moons. But we won't get the 3 beasts very easily. But that is something we could boost. And it's quite a powerful thing to just get rid of 2 things and replace them with beasts. Death Falls Gently on Open Blossoms. That's a really good power. It's slow, but it's going to do 5 damage for us. It's jungles and wetlands, and it's jungles and sands. And it's just a nice amount of damage. It doesn't have any of the elements we want, but I'm going to take Death Falls because it's going to help us with this big city issue. We are going to get rid of probably going to get rid of tough choice here. We don't want to get rid of Truth. I'm actually going to get rid of Delusions of Danger now because it's done its work. It was useful once. Now we've got something that does a bit more damage. And yeah, don't be afraid to get rid of something that's done its work. So that deals with this. It does 5 damage, which will kill that and that. It'll still leave us with 2 of those fellows. So we're looking to see if we can get 1 more point of damage, but we won't be able to this turn, I don't think. So we can Ferocious Rampage in there and get rid of that town, and then we'll have just a little bit of people left to deal with. Or we can, yeah, that's probably the best idea. We're not going to get our innate off, but we're going to do a lot of damage, and we're going to fix things up. So this one could come down here. Always hit the cities first. It's making it hard to select. It's a ton of fear. Now we just have to get rid of buildings as well. And we want to stop the Ravage next turn. So we're going to do this here. And we are now very, very close to being able to solve this whole island. We want to stop. So we haven't quite solved this jungle, but one point of damage will do it. And Pilbehemoth, Hungry Earth, no, that won't do it. What do we have that's going to do that 1 damage? I got rid of it like a fool. We're going to have to get something back. So I got rid of the wrong power. That's because I wasn't thinking ahead. But I'm going to pull this into there because we don't need a lot of things. So now again, we just need to do 1 damage in here. But also, if we can do 2 damage before then, that would be great. But we don't have anything that does 2 damage, not in the fast phase. And we but we could let this blight because it would just be 2 blights there and a blight there. And then in the second stage, we just need something that does 2 damage. No, we don't, because we'd have all these builds. So what we're going to do is have a look at what we can do. So if we bring back that 5 damage, that's good, but then we don't have a way to Yeah, we're not going to have enough power that way. So I think what I'm going to do is get another card. And we're going to get another animal power. We're going to put this here. And this time we are going to, so we're going to have 4 power and only 1 card to play. I'm going to try a major, no, I'm going to try a minor again because I don't want to get rid of anything. And all I'm looking for here, right, is to solve this, or solve one of these problems. So Pull Beneath the Hungry Earth won't actually help us for any of these, except to do 1 damage in the slow phase, which isn't what we need. But we've got 2 fear cards coming up. They may help us. Here we go. This is nice. Poison Dew lets us destroy all the. So again, that's a good example. Poison Dew, destroy 1 explorer, or if it's jungle or wetlands, destroy all explorers. A great way to get ahead of the game. Promise of Protection is a great card, but we just got rid of our sacred sites. That was probably dumb. So that's a good lesson to learn. If you can build a sacred site, like I had anywhere to put that presence, but I didn't put it in a sacred site. I might have got one. Here we go. Call to Trade, a very good card. If the terror level is 2 or lower, which it is, you can gather a town, and the first ravage in the target land this turn becomes a build instead. So what we can do there is pull this town into there, and then that jungle won't ravage, but we'll have all the damage concentrated into one place. Except, of course, we can't because there's Dahan there. There isn't Dahan there. What we can do is get Call to Trade instead. Play both of these. And what Call to Trade is going to do is... oh, no, that's not going to work. So what I was hoping to do was pull that one into there, but it's not going to work. So that's annoying. That's the wrong card to take. Back we go. Right. So we are going to have the Ravage. We didn't get a good card. We can't get ahead of ourselves, so we are looking for something that will trigger that, which means fire. We want something with fire, which is going to be Poison Dew. Yep. So that will give us a little bit more damage. Now we're just hoping these fear cards work. Each player adds strife in a land with disease. Yep, perfect. So that's going to stop us from taking that Ravage. Each player chooses a different land, and each can gather up to 2, 1 damage if Dahan are present. So let's put that there to stop the build. One build there and explore into the wetlands. Now all we have to do is do this 5 damage here. But it's nice. We see we didn't get that thing there. So that's going to be 2 damage, and that's going to be 1 damage. That's going to be 2 damage. So that's going to be 4 total. And Poison Dew will get rid of that. get everything back. We're going to put a power down here. And now all we need to do is something that does 1 damage in the fast phase. We don't actually have that, unfortunately. So, yeah, and this is the thing about it's one of the weaknesses of Ferocious. Ferocious. Devouring Teeth lurk underfoot. He has to sneak up on you. So he doesn't have a lot of ways to do that. A little bit extra damage. But we can defend 9, so we don't get any more things coming down. And now we've got 2 damage, so that's pretty much fine. All we have to do then is stop this build or do some damage to it on the way out. And that'll do it. There we go. So we're going to win on this turn. Actually, we don't even, with Ferocious Rampage, we're going to have way more damage than we need. So Command Beast, we'll use that to cause a bit of fear. So we get another fear card. We're going to throw this down here, get another bit more fear. Each player adds 1 strife to a land with Dahan. Oh, that's a good card. Ravage in the mountains. Doesn't do anything. Build in the wetlands. So this one does damage there. This one does damage there. And that's our victory. In turn 8, I think that was. Now, there may have been a way to win that faster by hitting buildings a bit faster, but if you learn to play for the long game and get ahead of things, you'll have better skills at crushing things in advance. I shouldn't have got rid of that fear card that moved invaders away. I would have probably won a little bit earlier then. I didn't need the extra damage card. The +3, I only used that once. So otherwise, though, but yeah, you see the reason. The whole point of this video is keeping those cards that do that little bit of damage to explorers because they can get you upstream and stop the damage from trickling down. If you stop and explore, it doesn't become a build and it doesn't become a ravage. Pretty simple, but it might help you improve your skills at Spirit Island. And that's it